Greetings. This is Dr. Sharon Mijares of the California Institute for Human Science, where I am core faculty. Bear with me a moment while I get the PowerPoint going that accompanies this presentation, which is on neuroscience, psychic development, mediumship, and kundalini, signs of global transformation. This talk focuses on spiritual neuroscience as a means of uniting spiritual phenomena and behaviors presenting through the human nervous system. To begin, I'd like to note that science is a human-made paradigm consisting of three parts: objective reality, the human imagination, and technology. Note that this description includes the power of imagination, a major element that initiates scientific and theoretical pursuits. Supporting this, Einstein noted how knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. It is, strictly speaking, a real factor in scientific research. In an earlier interview for the Saturday Evening Post in 1929, Einstein explained that he was enough of an artist to draw freely upon his imagination, adding that imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. In that same interview, he added that he believed in intuitions and inspirations. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am. When two expeditions of scientists financed by the Royal Academy went forth to test my theory of relativity, I was convinced that their conclusions would tally with my hypothesis. I was not surprised when the eclipse of May 29th, 1919, confirmed my intuitions. I would have been surprised if I had been wrong. This is also defined in the writings of the highly regarded Sufi mystic Ibn al-Arabi's ontological perspective. He believed that imagination represented the creative force of manifestation, the very cause of our existence, and the powerful intermediary that enables us to remain in constant contact with the infinite and the absolute. Through the concept of imagination, Ibn al-Arabi managed to differentiate between the human and divine mechanism of creativity, a differentiation which he then used to resolve the paradox of eternity and newness of the world. Along these same veins of understanding, Henry Corbin first noted the term Mundus Imaginalis, the imaginal world, explaining that this is a world that is ontologically as real as the world of the senses and that of the intellect. This world requires its own faculty of perception, namely imaginative power, a faculty with cognitive function, a noetic value which is real as that of sense perception or intellectual intuition. The mystic and depth psychologist Carl Jung engaged with this process, often calling his experience active imagination. This is the realm that shamans enter in to encounter power animals and other deities. Spiritual realizations and powers are related to this imaginal realm, for it is where non-local experience occurs. It includes the boundaries between the ordinary world we live in and expanded dimensions beyond. Its spiritual phenomena and related guidance can be received and downloaded into the human nervous system, and therefore represents a significant attribute of spiritual neuroscience. It is the attribute of imagination from which dreams, intuition, psychic experiences, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, channeling, and knowing and mystical experiences manifest. It accounts for our experience with non-local realities. The 1800s and early 1900s were exploding with occult sciences. Theosophists following the teachings of Madame Blavatsky, for example, Alice Bailey, Bishop Ledbetter, mystic and activist Annie Besant, and Rudolf Steiner, channeled teachings with the ancient spiritual sciences and the Vedas, representing descriptions of various realms or planes of existence, including physical, etheric, astral, mental, and higher bodies manifesting within them. At the same time, psychic experiences were being explored by the American psychologist William James, and Carl Jung was attending seances. These occult sciences were the beginning of the New Age movement, a term used by Alice Bailey. It embraced spiritual development and non-local realities. Now, the limitations within the modern New Age movement are that it has increasingly aligned itself with positive thinking, confusing it with positions, commercialism, and possessions. Overall, younger generations have not been quite as disciplined or unwilling to study the history and occult teachings within the spiritual studies of the early predecessors. And thus, the earlier influences of the occult sciences had been weakened. It is possible, though, that given the troubling times that we're all living in, many people become more receptive to the inner ministries and the attentive, disciplined work they require. There was more depth in their predecessors. For example, Alice Bailey claimed to be the recipient of the ageless wisdom of the masters, a hierarchy of ascended beings. In other words, through discipline, she opened imaginative capacities related to other planes and related consciousness. The work of Rudolf Steiner entered other realms of experience, leading him to believe that human consciousness manifested from the astral plane itself. The Theosophists taught and wrote extensively on the capacity of human consciousness. For example, Annie Besant's book on a study of consciousness. They defined inner planes and included reincarnation, although they primarily spoke to a Eurocentric and richer white population. They awakened their readers and students to the teachings of the Far East, including the roles of chakras, pranic life force, and kundulini in spiritual awakening. These three manifestations are believed to be part of the consciousness awakening experience, opening the imaginal dimensions. As one engages in meditation, breathing, and mantric practices, prana increases in the etheric and physical bodies. As the energies of opposites come into balance, as emphasized in Middle Eastern and Taoist alchemy, the possibility of the sleeping serpent, the kundulini, awakening within the human being is enhanced. This relates the occult sciences with spiritual neuroscience. The increasing prana sensitizes the human nervous system. The neurological system can begin experiencing enhanced sensitivity to inner plane energies. It is said that spiritual enlightenment can occur when there is a complete kundalini experience. Thus, increasing energies and sensitivity to them can open the doors to powers of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, psychic awareness, and channeling. This is where non-local events and numerous possibilities arise. Let's discuss the relationship between spiritual neuroscience and mediumship. Seances were quite popular in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Well-known people such as Thomas Edison, Arthur Conan Doyle, Queen Victoria, William James, Carl Jung, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and many other notables attended them. Recently, my attention was drawn to a book I bought in 1969, Genuine Mediumship or the Invisible Powers. After all these years, I was finally drawn to fully read it. The primary purpose of mediumship is seeking proof of other realms and to affirm ongoing life beyond death. I don't believe in giving up one's consciousness to another often unknown entity, but I have had personal experiences that have caught my attention. They did not require a loss of consciousness, but offered some significant learning. How much are we influenced by beings in other realms without even recognizing it? The following story represents how these phenomenological experiences can appear. My 20-year-old granddaughter, Lisa, died in 2004 of unknown causes. Approximately a year later, I was having dinner at a friend's house along with two other people. After dinner, we went into the living room to chat. There was music playing in the background. I heard a couple of great songs, so asked if I could borrow the CD. This was a Saturday evening. On Monday, I was listening to it on my way home from my psychotherapy office. I kept replaying this one song, One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men. As I sat there in the car, I had the thought that I was acting like a teenager in love, replaying a song that's related to the beloved one. Suddenly, I had the thought, this is a message from Lisa to Matt, her partner. I immediately acted on it, took the CD upstairs, telephoned him, and simply said, "Listen to this song, Matt," and waited while it played. At its end, Matt told me it was our song. I tried to put the title in our cell phone after her death, but it only allowed for me to say, "One day, Lisa." Synchronicity can often be a significant factor in psychic and spiritual events. Their 3-year-old son had come down the stairs as the music was playing, handing Matt a photo of Lisa and me together. I never doubted that this was a genuine experience. Lisa had unknowingly influenced my friend as she set up the rotating CDs. She influenced me, and then her son, to both see and bring the photo to his dad as the music was playing. What I found astounding was that I had no conscious knowledge of being communicated to from another realm. It was the synchronicity within the results that confirmed it. When we have a thought to follow some direction or receive a meaningful idea, is it coming from someone in another realm, communicated in non-local time? Is it reliable? The attraction to these events is that they can offer proof of continuing consciousness beyond death. In my estimation, we should not try to hang on to those who have passed on. So again, I'm not sure if traditional seances are useful. There is a lot of false guidance, and the reliability of mediums is often questioned. There's also the larger question of the spiritual development of whoever the medium is becoming a vehicle for. Both Ledbetter's book, The Astral Plane, and Swami Bhaktisiddhanta's book, Genuine Mediumship, or The Invisible Powers, note the dangers of encountering spiritually undeveloped beings. Folks don't automatically become purely motivated beings in other realms after dying. So there's a lot of caution needed. The capacity for receiving guidance from other realms requires neurological preparation and specific training for the medium, spiritualist, or channel. This is one way of not deceiving ourselves. Most of us still have a lot of psychospiritual development house cleaning to do. As Jung advised, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This means working on our physical, emotional, mental, and behavioral levels, often the areas we tend to ignore. These energies and guides are present on all levels. The need is to recognize and allow for their transformative presence. On a personal level, I have experienced channeled guidance. Some were a decade apart, unexpected, but gave me brief guidance for incidences taking place in my own life. The last one occurred several years ago and is related to this article. For years, I've been experiencing energies often accompanied by sound expressions rushing through my body. I blame myself for this in that I'd learned how to breathe through the chakras in 1989 and was practicing 45 minutes twice a day for a couple of years. When taught this process, I've been told to do it for only 15 minutes. Got carried away. At first, I could feel the ability to move the pranic energy throughout my body, but soon it manifested uncontrolled energies. Years later, I heard myself being talked to as I was participating in a Sufi workshop and listening to the guided meditation about the high self. Suddenly, I heard myself with these words being directed to me, simply saying, "We have been preparing your nervous system for a long time." This was not my own higher self, nor did I have the slightest idea of who we would be, but the words immediately reframed my explanation for what had been happening in my body. Are these types of experiences becoming more common as other realms become more transparent through the illuminating paths of occult practices and spiritual neuroscience? Are we living in a most significant time? The boundaries between realms are being disrupted and opening. I believe it is important that we deepen our work on ourselves on all levels, purifying our nervous system through practices using breath and mantra, including yoga, tai chi, and qigong, encouraging a healthy flow of energy, and then most significantly, observing our own behaviors to make changes that better our relationship with self, others, and the environment. This also influences the planet, as it is experiencing a breakdown of old structures as well. The process can lead to dissolution or to a rebirth. We can even find this realm dissolving as we transcend to a parallel universe, worlds beyond worlds. Ideas of portals or other dimensional experience are becoming increasingly popular, as evidenced in various forms of modern media and scientific discoveries. Although quantum science is demonstrating how everything is connected, there is still much to validate for the non-believers. Returning to the larger focus on prana and transformational energies, just as consciousness and new information is absorbed into our personal nervous system, the same vital energy is moving through the planet systems. Quantum theory describes atoms, particles included in Einstein's unified field theory, but a newer branch, string theory, hypothesizes multiple patterns and at least 10 dimensions. This suggests multiple manifestations of consciousness moving throughout all life, seen and unseen. The quantum sciences appear to be on the verge of validating the existence of other realms and dimensions interpenetrating the material world. It is the imaginal world, encompassing all, leading us ever closer to manifesting the psychic and New Age teachings noted earlier in this talk. Also, the ever-advancing sciences are moving alongside the path of the mystics. For example, Heinrich Paz describes how these fragmented discoveries manifesting in the quantum sciences are not separate, as all is included in a vast singularity. But we still argue the presence of consciousness, for example, in the oppositions between neuroscience, psychology, and quantum discoveries. The current edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5 TR, takes a neuroscience perspective on psychiatric diagnosis of mental disorders, relating them specifically to brain and neurological dysfunctions, as opposed to human and cultural behaviors, the opening of the brain to receive information. This influence, based on limitations within a neuroscience, opposes consciousness, centering all human behavior in the brain and its nervous system. It blocks the understanding of thousands of years of spiritual discovery, representing vast scientific knowledge concerning human will, choice, and the vast library of spiritual healing traditions. There is much to be learned from breath and mantric practice and various understandings coming forth from the awareness of spiritual energies. Thus, neuroscience, spiritual neuroscience, and the occult sciences support a far greater reality. We are living in a most significant time. The boundaries between realms are being disrupted. I believe it is important that we deepen our work on ourselves on all levels. There are many, many ways to be influenced. There is a need not to be deceived, especially given the breakdown in practical thinking. Clear discernment is the key. Purifying our nervous system through practices using breath and mantra, movement practices, including yoga, tai chi, or qigong, encourage a healthy flow of energy, as noted before. Observing our own behaviors to make changes that better our relationship with self, with other, and our environment helps to build the needed discernment while opening the doors to spiritual influences. This will also influence the planet as it experiences a breakdown of its own structures. The changes can lead to dissolution or to a rebirth. We could even find this realm dissolving as we transcend to a parallel universe, worlds beyond worlds. Most importantly, as human beings awaken to alternative dimensions, their energies can also align with higher consciousness. I am certain it exists. The question is, what do we want the future to be? I want to thank you for listening to my talk. Goodbye.